Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. New year. New. We cannot put new wine into old skins. What's the consequences of putting new wine into old skins? As you reflect on that, the scripture, what we've been encouraged to think about, to not repeat. Going into this new year, then, what are you going to do differently? How are you going to become newer? So it's a very auspicious time for me. I often look forward to New Year's. I think there's an enthusiasm we have, even a dread we have, if we can set some realistic goals, some attainable goals, some smart goals, if we should. I think that's what we've been taught in sales, to set smart goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic goals, and to move forward to them, and including our spiritual development, our spiritual expansion, consciousness expansion. So I know for me, one of the keys of me attaining anything and meeting any goals is resilience. And it's one of my favorite words, honestly. My favorite people, the people I admire, look up to, and aspire to be like, have a very deep sense, a deep embodiment, a profound embodiment of resilience. Momma would call it grit, probably. Resilience is defined as the ability to adapt and to become stronger in life, to adapt to life, to become stronger in life, including life's challenges. When challenges come our way, and there's no one that's immune from a challenge. Doggone it. And increasing our resilience takes practice, time, choice, consciousness, surrender, effort, real effort to gain perspective, to stay empowered, even in the face of these challenges, and to cope with feelings, to maintain meaningful connection, to give and receive. So that's the areas I want to explore today in that talk. Gaining perspective, staying empowered, coping, processing our feelings, maintaining meaningful connection, giving and receiving. Brene Brown states, a sense of worthiness inspires us to be vulnerable. A sense of worthiness inspires us to be vulnerable, to share openly, and to persevere. A sense of worthiness. What thoughts then can you tell yourself that will cause you and uplift you to nurture and cultivate some resilience and a greater sense of worthiness? Would that be okay to come out of this with a greater sense of worthiness? In Proverbs, we're reminded to trust in God with all of our heart, and to not lean on our own understanding of things. We can start with that, maybe. And then as we look at these various areas, to know it's a matter of which mindset we're operating from. A more closed mindset will see challenges as dramatic, unbearable, versus an open mindset sees that challenges are part of life. They're included in our life. There's no life that's going to be free of this. In a fixed mindset, we see things as obstacles. We give up, throw in the towel, don't have the stamina to persevere. And a growth mindset, and I just noticed I'm wanting to call it a more mature mindset, emotionally, spiritually mature mindset. We see that we can persist. We can persevere even in these obstacles. We can innovate and use a higher part of our mind to create, to think, to overcome. And with a closed mindset, we see our efforts as useless, fruitless, like nothing good ever becomes of this. I can't. And a growth mindset sees that it takes effort and that it's a path and a process and that progress is being made and that we can measure then even small steps that we took. One small thing that we have done that made a difference in how I'm approaching this, how I'm going to be with this. The closed mindset sees everything anybody says as criticism, negative feedback. Instead of a growth mindset sees that this is all feedback. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to learn from watching others. I often say my family taught me how to do a lot of things. They taught me how not to do a lot of things also. I'm going to learn from it all. That's a growth mindset. And then in the old fixed mindset, any success of others feels like we've lost something. Like we feel threatened if somebody succeeds. Versus an open mindset sees that I can learn lessons from their success. I can look for the secrets of their success. I can apply certain ones of them. Not that I can ever be somebody else, but I can learn from somebody else, everybody else for that matter. So in resiliency then, the ability to adapt, to become stronger as life's challenges occur and come our way, to increase our resilience will take time and effort. And we can do this through these practices that I laid out at the beginning, which is to maintain a higher perspective, to step back from things, to see it. I just finished a piece of needlepoint. And on that needlepoint, when I look at the back of it, it is a mess. If I had it in my hand, I'd show it to you. Threads are going every which way. They're crossed up, tied up, knotted. It's not all that beautiful looking at it from the back side. But the front side is gorgeous. It's in order. It's less chaotic. There's actually an image of a beach scene with water and sea and clouds and grasses and fences and a beautiful lighthouse. So the front side is the higher perspective. And that means then I've got to practice looking on the other side of things. And when I cannot see, and there's times I cannot see, to know that there is another perspective. There is another view of this that I can take. And that it's imperative on me to do that, for me to keep my stamina on how to be with something. It also means then reframing things at times. So when I've been hurt or let down or frustrated, to keep a higher perspective. I watch people that are tired, particularly during the holidays, and frazzled, overworked, overdone, not rested, not healthy, not well, actually, pushing and pressing themselves to do something to carry on. So I can see that they're not going to be as able to respond sanely and sensibly. They're, of course, then going to be more edgy. So I can see that they're in their own challenges. And then this is an opportunity for me to offer grace, for me to offer mercy, for me to be the first to do that. And certainly when I'm doing the same thing, to extend grace to myself, mercy to myself, just like I would want someone else to do. The second is to stay empowered about a situation. Now, this has helped me over time as leader and developing as a leader and developing other leaders, working with others, and even in my family, to take a look at what I actually have any control of. So I was talking to one of my friends this week who's 93, and she was very worried about the electricity going out. What would happen if she didn't have electricity? And I asked, what can you do about whether you have any electricity or not? And she said, nothing. I have no control of that. Then she started to smile without another word. So just pausing to see, what do I actually have any control over? Now, that means I might buy a gas heater. It means I've got somebody on standby, somebody checking to see if I have electricity, that I've got whatever provisions can be made, and then a surrender and a trust to that. It also helps me to stay empowered to think back on how many times in my 60-some years, was there ever a time that I didn't have electricity for an extended period? And the answer is no. There was a few occurrences in 60-some years without electricity. None that went more than a few days in a hurricane or an ice storm or something. And even in those situations, there were provisions, alternatives, a way around it. So whatever would help you to stay empowered. So our goals for resiliency, to build resiliency, our goals to maintain perspective, to stay empowered. One of my coaches asked us to write a list of what I'm actually responsible for. I often start to feel like I'm responsible for others, that I'm responsible for others' well-being, that I'm responsible for others' happiness, that I'm responsible for their prosperity. So it's very important for me to back out of that and to stay in reality that I'm actually not responsible for somebody else. I'll do everything I can within my power to ease anything I can for them. And I cannot take on responsibility for another person because I can't control what they do, what they become, how they think, what they practice, what they keep doing over and over and over without breaking out of some of that. Our principles, unity principles, are the basis for all of this. Our principles encourage us to think affirmatively, to think positively, to think about what I can do, not to focus on what I can't do, to focus on what I have, not what I don't have. So what are your ways of doing this? And then the third is to process our feelings, to cope with this, to understand that feelings are part of our human learning processes. So to do this through crying, I just read in Martha's Pearls. I'm reading this out loud, by the way. If you want to check it out, it'll be on YouTube starting in January. And chapter 2 includes the scientific proof that crying is beneficial. Crying is pain reducing, stress reducing. And out of these studies, out of these universities, upwards of 90% of the participants felt better after a cry. Only 8% reported that they didn't feel better. 90% feels better after a cry. So there's a reason it's called a good cry. So coping with our feelings. It could be through journaling or writing worksheets or letters Other forms of art, drawing, color expression, sound expression, any way to process through this. And notice and appreciate also what's going well. I also process my feelings of gratitude. I've written to many of you little cards, love notes, or something, thanking you for your role in life and the ministry, and my gratitude for the heartstring that we share that uplifts me, that moves me toward my goals, and including keeping meaningful connections, which we're getting into and next in the list. So allowing for feelings, surrendering to feelings, and how to grow ourselves up enough to have feelings and feelings not have us. And then to look then through our empowerment, looking for gaining and holding a higher perspective, staying empowered, allowing for the feelings, and then solving our solving skills. To think, to make a list of what would be a possible solution here, to take some simple, small step toward that, to make a decision, to use our innovative, creative upper chamber of our mind to think about, what would a sane person do here? What could I sensibly do about a situation? To remain open to new ideas to come, new possibilities. It could be, I even ask people, what have you done in situations like this? Or I pray, that I meditate and contemplate, like to see what idea would come to me, a wholly divine idea, a divine spark, a divine new possibility through my contemplations and presencing myself in prayer and meditation and silence. And then as we move through our goals, as I referred to earlier, to maintain meaningful connections. I had fun during the holidays. I was home by myself. It was wonderful. It was the snow and ice and below zero temperatures for many of us, I imagine. And I used it to call people, to text, to find a picture of us together, to strengthen and cultivate our friendship, to offer support to them and receive support in my relationships from them. That this is heart healthy for my well-being, and apparently a gift to them too. And it takes us to the last one in this resiliency, the goals of resiliency, building it, which is to keep developing informal and formal ways to give and to receive. To give and to receive. Somebody sent me something here through Amazon on that coldest 1 below 0 day. Some Amazon deliver here, and I just opened a card that had a gift card in it. So I turned around and handed them the gift card for that delivery. It's like I wanted to do something to thank them for being out in this treacherously cold weather to me. And it was an open-hearted, kind something. I don't know the person. I'll likely never see them again. Formal ways of giving, informal ways of giving and receiving. And in that transaction with the driver, I realized in my giving was also my receiving. It was one transaction, not two. In the giving was the receiving. That's the closed loop of it. To find ways to express gratitude, to say thank you, and to find ways to do it daily as a practice. Have a little fun. Keep a little humor in it. To find ways to play as we do this giving and receiving. And as we go forward into 2023, to make every choice we can toward something that moves us in the direction of our own goals, whatever your goals are. To be happier than to make choices that bring you more happiness, to get something written down, to get your house in order, then set a 15-minute timer and clear a bookshelf or one drawer. I did this as a decluttering class one time. And I've got requests for it to start it again. To take care of ourselves, whatever healthier habits that would be, for rest or renewal, or to look at what you're eating or drinking or not eating or drinking. So what are your goals? And I surely hope building resiliency is part of it. I know who you are. I know what you are. And I know how you serve. And I am grateful beyond my words to serve with you. MarthaCreek.com to contact me. Blessings. MarthaCreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.